As we go into our third year, we wanted to spotlight a few of the moments and previous guests that continue to inspire us and tell the Native American story through their artistry and crafts. We can't thank you enough for your support and being with us week after week as we connect with so many amazing artists in our community. So please, join us as we return to one of our favorite episodes from the last year.
Step into the realm of limitless imagination with Beyond the Art, where Indigenous creativity knows no bounds. Join us on a captivating journey through Indigenous art and innovation.
Together, let's delve into the depths of imagination, pushing boundaries with guests from diverse sectors of the Native American art world, each sharing their unique creative vision and inspiring journeys.
Join us for exclusive interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and uplifting stories. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Art. I'm Cray, Bauxmont-Flynn, your host, and someone who's always looking for stories behind the art. And with me today is our other co-host, Joe Williams.
Hello, Cray. Hello, everyone.
So we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to take a look at 2024 and what's ahead in 2025. Kind of self-reflect on the show, ourselves, what we do, and what actually brought us together in this podcast world. You ready for this, Joe?
I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be fun.
For those that are listening, this is take 15. Well, me and Joe came together, oddly enough, when I started this show, and I was intrigued by his show, 5 Plains Questions. And there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences. And what he does and what this show and the outline is. And I thought Joe would be a fantastic guest to kind of get his take on the Native American art world and what he does and the guests he has, and just exploring of the diversity that's out there and kind of giving a more focus on the artistry, be it, the musicians we've had, the actors, the painters, the sculptors, the ceramic artists and such. So I reached out to Joe to say, hey, you want to be a guest on this show called Beyond the Art? And he graciously said yes.
Yeah, no, it was intriguing. As someone who prefers to be, behind the camera, asking the questions, it was a fun and different experience for me. So yeah, I was intrigued. It was great.
And sometimes it's nice to have a cohort, a sidekick, or a partner in crime to bounce things off of. So midway last year, I think I reached out and invited you to be the co-host, which has been phenomenal. And it's been great to have you in the second seat to kind of fill in and also to bounce questions and extract from the guest some of their personalities. Sometimes, as you know, doing this show, it's hard to extract questions from guests. They're good off camera. They're good before the green light. And then all of a sudden it's like we're rolling. It's like they go dead silence.
Yes. I found early on in 5 Plains Questions that when I was in the interview, if I was on question 3 and we were already 5 minutes into the episode, I knew I was in trouble, because I only have 5 questions and I can't be doing 10-minute episodes. So it's been a process of trying to figure out how to sort of extract more information from the guest and giving them the space to be able to share. And so, I think that comes from experience and time. And now at the airing of this episode, we're moving into season 6 now. So, it's definitely taken experience to be able to sort of give the guest the space and not talk over them or make it about, yourself.
Right. And sometimes, it's a learning process for us as well, I think. And, as we self-reflect on 2024 for Beyond the Art, let's talk about some of the favorite moments that we both shared together with a guest and ones that we've taken the lead and hosted the show independently.
Yeah.
What are some of the ones that kind of stand out for you that are to be aired for this year that we did?
Yeah. Looking back, first off, the guests that we have on here are wonderful. And I'm always excited to be able to speak with them because they provide some sort of insight, not just on their work, but like on life that is always interesting to sort of sit down and be witness to what they're talking about. Um, I think given the year that he has had, Jeffrey Gibson is someone who was absolutely fantastic to sit down with and to listen to his story.
Mhm.
As some know, he had an amazing year. He was over in Italy, um, and was the U.S. I think it was the U.S. representative at the Biennale in Italy,
Correct. Yeah,
and
absolutely, yeah.
yeah, and so his work with Kathleen Nash Milby, the curator for that exhibition, both those two are powerhouses in the art world, and with Jeffrey, he is so humble and he's so down to earth. It's wonderful listening to him and chatting with him. Um, but yeah, it's with him, and then there's sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through because I want to make sure I don't miss someone here. Crystal Worrell, out of Alaska,
That's a good one, yeah. Phenomenal artist. Loved
phenomenal
her.
artist, and the scope and the scale that she works. I used to, in a sense, humble brag that I've done 18 murals to my credit, and I've done all this work when I was
Mhm.
younger, and then I see what she does, and I'm just like, whoa, she is on a whole different level of what not just of the work that she does, but her community engagement as well.
Right, right.
An incredible member of our community, doing great things.
Yeah, I think I mean, I got to watch those shows since I wasn't on air with you at those shows. I
Mm,
think one that really stands out that's upcoming is Little Mike and Funny Bone.
mm,
Um, they are characters, they are real, they are themselves as those that have watched Res Dogs. That's them. That's their personality and that's who they are. And Sterling Harjo, I think, was able to extract and capture that. And they didn't play these characters that were dictated or scripted. They played themselves.
mhm,
And I laughed from start to finish that day, having them on the show. And they're just so entertaining and so humble, and true to themselves and true and have integrity of what they do every day of their lives and
mhm.
what they provide to our community. Um, I can't wait for that one to kind of come together and to air that because it was just a that's what makes it fun and enjoyable. And I mean, as with all our guests that we've had on the show, is what I take away from it and what I learned as an artist and as a creative in my day job, and providing that type of integrity to what I believe is needs to be kind of, I guess, translated to the outside world about being Indigenous and Native American.
Mhm, mhm. I think that's what's really one of the big things about these podcasts, is that a lot of it too, people listen just with their headphones, and they don't have the video up. And
Mhm.
I think it's really important for the listener to connect with our guests, um, to just listen to their story, to sit in that space with them, and to connect with them on the human level, because we all have the same hopes and fears, the same thing that keeps our guests and us up at night, even though we're Native American or Indigenous, is not separate from someone who is non-Native. And I think that's one of the really important things that come from this podcast, is that human connection, that story that comes through.
Absolutely. And for those that are listening or watching us today, and I explained this on Joe's show when I appeared, Five Plains Questions, of why I started this is just the lack of spotlight and a platform to bring together those type of artists and the various type of artists that were all very different. For someone that's non-native, they think, we're all the same.
Mhm, mhm,
We all come from the same place. We all share the same heritage and culture, and we're all so different. The tribes I have ancestry of, which is Cherokee, Delaware, Wyandot, Mohawk, and Chickasaw.
mhm,
There's a tie that connects us. There's certain elements that connect us, but they all are very different, just as someone from France versus someone from India or Japan. Yes, we're all human and we all eat and sleep the same, but we're all different in our own cultural environments. And I'm lucky enough to have a few within my DNA. and being a tribal citizen of 2 of those, I find it very lucky. And it's just giving the voice, the platform, and the vast artistry that's out there. Like I said, from actors to musicians to ceramic artists to glass blowers, everything in between, fashion designers, artists like Joe himself, which you need to talk about and tell everyone what you do in your day job. That there's so many of us that, don't get the focus put on us, or the spotlight, and we're continuing to evolve, continuing to tell our story, but also the Native American story, because it didn't stop, as I've said previously numerous times, it didn't stop 600 years ago at first contact. That we continue to evolve, we continue to share and tell our story in our journey and evolve as a people, but also evolve as those tribal nations as well. But Joe, I'm rambling. Tell us about you. Share us about your day job, not just about, and tell us about Five Plains your podcast. But what's on your plate? What are you doing? What drives Joe Williams? And what's your artistry? What's your passion?
Yeah. So yeah, the day job is I'm a storyboard artist for film and television. I work in the digital medium, so I have a Cintiq, I have an iPad that I work off of, and basically, what I do is as a storyboard artist is we get the script from the director, and we interpret that script from words onto pictures, just through I say basic drawings, but almost like a comic book type of drawings for the director to be able to look at. It's their first view of what their film's going to look like before they commit to getting all the crew together to be able to get everyone together to start shooting. This is a way for the director to sort of work out issues with the script, work with their director of photography so they know how things are going to look and how to plan for the shooting schedule so that when they get on location, they're ready to go and they look like rock stars because they already know what everything's going to, how it's going to work out. And, so it's basically creating almost like a shopping list or a grocery list, to know what you need to do so that when you get on site, you're all ready to go. So, so I'll work on a project 6 months, 8 months before they even start filming. So that gives us time to sort of work through those issues. And I love it because as a storyboard artist, first up, I have a love of film. I've, like many of us, just absolutely in love with cinema. And short of becoming a director or someone that's working in the industry at that level, I'm able to participate doing a craft that I am just really born to do, and that's to draw. And so I get a first shot at a script to see what it looks like. And, I will catch things in the script too that I can bring to the director's attention and say, I see you doing this, but maybe this is an option you can consider too. And it is incredibly, I lost of words. I just had my first project released from a major studio. It's just been released.
Congrats.
And thank you. It is magical to see your drawings alive on screen.
I can imagine.
And terrifying too,
Yeah.
I'm a little hesitant watching it because it's like a podcast, right? We record the podcast. I don't know about you, Cray, but I don't really listen to my episodes once they're released.
No.
My voice, how I talk, I can't do it. And so, there's a little bit of hesitancy in that too, because I hope I didn't screw something up on the storyboards and see it go awry. But of course, that's not how it goes. So, yeah.
Well,
so that's my day job. That's
your day job.
Yeah.
Well, because of your day job, I reached out to you, for those that don't know. No one knows except for you. To do a children's book. I came up with a story of wanting to do a children's book. It's been something that I've always wanted to tackle. It's been on my wish list, and there was a story in my head that kept on repeating itself and repeating itself. And so I reached out to Joe. It's like, you want to do something else with me?
Absolutely. Yes. I was excited when you sent it to me. because you had mentioned it briefly before,
Mm-hmm.
and so to see it on paper, it just started to come alive as I was looking at it.
So we'll have to set some time aside and start that journey as well.
Hmm.
I think, I don't think there's enough Native American, uh, how would I put it? I guess something that's identifiable to a kid. I think a lot of it that is identifiable, it's misrepresented.
Hmm.
Represented. There's one of those words. Uh, it's like, oh, they're like me. They're probably done by, and not to discount anyone, a non-native person.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so I think telling it from my perspective of what would attract me or entice me as a kid. Um, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
We definitely need more representation and identifiable
Uh
uh,
huh.
characters and stories to our youth. And so I think it's really important for you to have your stories out there and to inspire others to do the same as well.
So that's something that we'll have to take care of in 2025. A lot is going on for both of us.
Mm, mm.
And you're moving to California.
Yes, yes. It's tentative right now. Uh, lots of lots of things are moving right now. So we're just sort of watching what the film industry is doing and seeing what's happening there. There was a strikes a couple years ago, and so it's sort of backed up the production line. And not that not to be gosh, how do I say this? I'm watching the fires that are happening right now,
Right,
and
right.
it's delaying something that I've just started working on. And honestly, I could care less about the project and whenever that goes, because I'm more concerned about, of course, our friends and all the folks
Mhm.
in Southern California and what they're going through right now. And uh, it's just wild how intense that fire situation is, and the humanitarian situation that's developed there with all the homes lost and
Yeah.
the lives lost.
It's astounding for those that have never been to that part of the West Coast or California or anywhere, the multitude of fires that are going on and affecting a lot of people, devastating their lives, and it's gonna take a long, long recovery. I don't think people understand the recovery time that it will entail, for those. Um, what else can we talk about? The
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
I mean, for those that are listening, Beyond the Art, we're kind of going to season 3, and as we briefly mentioned, some of the upcoming guests, um, we've had a little over 2 years, and they kinda all are just so different in their personalities and their crafts and what do they bring to the Native American Indigenous art world, and giving them that platform to kind of, tell their story,
Hmm.
of where they're going and what they do and what drives them. Um, there's just so many, and it was kinda nice. Last year, I went to SWAIA.
Mm.
I've had some guests in studio, a lot of them been virtually like this, but to see them firsthand and recognizing me,
Yeah.
and again, being very gracious in me reaching out to be on the show. It's like, "No, I need to thank you for what you're doing and the artistry you bring to the table and telling your story and keep going and inspiring others,"
Hmm.
I think is an important factor. There's so many out there that are trying to push the limits, I guess
Hmm.
you could say. What do
Hmm.
you see in the Native American art world and what's happening, um, and the focus being on the diversity of different type of artistry in the community, given what you do with this show, but also your own show?
Hmm. Hmm. It's very encouraging that when when I talk to artists and get a perspective on what they're doing, what their engagement is. So many of them, and it's a great question that you've come up with this podcast, is how do other artists see sort of the future and how they see themselves a part of that future? I think that's a
Mhm.
great question. Um, and what I really love is the intention of mentorship that so many artists have taken on, that they've worked on their craft. They acknowledge those who have got them to their place, whether it was other professionals or family members that have come before them, and that they are open to being able to bring on not just apprentices, but other those who are curious about what they're doing and sharing their knowledge and pushing it forward.
Mhm.
So, like with the podcast, I I knew right away that I was never going to be able to interview everyone, right? Like that's just not possible. Because everyone I interviewed, they said, talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to this
Right,
person.
right.
And every road, there's someone down that road. And so I love the fact that this podcast exists. Uh, Similar in theme, right? It's an interview series that we talk to creatives. I hope to see more of these so that more people are spotlighted, who
Mhm.
then can inspire other people to follow down the paths that they're inspired by. So yeah, I think as long as we are forthright in our storytelling, and getting the word out there of sharing the stories of the people that we interview, um, I imagine we will have a really well informed youth, especially with social media, right? Uh,
Mhm.
we have a very informed youth base now compared to what we had when we were younger.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Um, Growing up, the two contemporary famous people that I was aware of was Billy Mills, who of course is an absolute legend for all of us, right?
Mhm.
And I always I joke, but it's also true. Bob Barker, he's a Lakota uh, uh, Native American from Rosebud, and those were the only two that I was really aware of in South Dakota. So I see the connections that we have now,
Mhm.
the way we're able to connect with our audience and youth. They're a more informed, more inspired group of kids.
Yeah, and I also think, there was a moment I had a thought. Imagine that.
I started to go word salad on you. I was like, stop talking.
Um, well, I think it's indicative of our culture and to be shy and not talk about ourselves.
Mhm,
And so a lot of creatives and artists out there don't push themselves to be recognized. Um, they go to the art markets, they sell their goods, um, but they don't have marketing or PR people behind them or push themselves to go into bigger exhibits
mhm,
or get into print or things like that, And I think the time is now.
mhm,
There is a movement. We are getting the focus and spotlight on our culture in a lot of ways,
mhm,
be it in film and fashion, um, like Jeffrey Bean in Benali, uh, and so many others like Preston Singletary, uh, that have such great magnitude of artistry and what they bring and such a diverse elements that, I think a lot of non-natives are saying, "Oh, it's not just about the Southwest.
mhm,
There's different aspects and different mediums out there. It's not about just pottery or blankets or turquoise jewelry. There's other aspects of our story and what we do as artists. So it's nice to see that from those that I've talked to, like Kelly Church and George Alexander and Diana Whitehawk, and oh, the list goes on and on and on, and Little Mike and Funny Bone and Gianna, who you talked to, and
mhm.
and um, Jonathan. What was it? Gentleman's name? That just
Jonathan Thunder.
Thunder. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Oh, that guy, amazing guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
They just bring such an enormous amount of talent that they need to be heard, and we need platforms like this, like your show, and so many others
Mhm,
to give them that. If it's 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes, but I think it's awarded and much needed
mhm,
in
mhm.
so many aspects.
Oh, yeah. So looking forward, what is what's 2025 looking like for the podcast?
It's just getting more people, more diversity on the show. It's a little hard, as you can imagine, to find the artists that want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get them booked,
Yep.
stick to the schedule,
Yep. Yep.
book a time,
Yep.
and want to tell their story. Again, there's such a huge variable amount of talent out there that do just about anything and everything possible.
Mhm.
That there is a wider diversity of artistry that we can get on the show that wants to talk about it. I haven't found a children's book artist yet or a writer. I know of one, but she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to come on camera. She doesn't want to be on a podcast. That's her prerogative.
Yep.
But her and her daughter did a children's book, but they're a little too shy, I guess, or don't want to promote it or themselves. And such great story that's being told, but we can talk about it. But getting directly from them, I think, is what is captivating and intriguing and dynamic, and telling them why they got to where they're at. But maybe that's what kind of kickstarted my little brain. Say, well, I'm going to do a children's book.
Yeah. And to your point, it's also important for these individuals, but especially the guests that we've had and will have, that they tell their story through their own voice. That the listener hears it directly from them and not curated from another voice, whatever the industry is. And so it's a shame that they won't come on. But of course, I deal with the same thing on my podcast too. There are some folks I would love to have on, but they're not comfortable, and that I respect it. It. So, yeah.
And I try to ease them at times, it's like, it's just a camera. It's like a Zoom call. Yeah, we got a few questions, and it's edible. But we have a few lined up. We have Ty LeClaire that's coming up. We have Funny Bone and Little Mike. We have Jan and Shadling. Is that how you say your last name?
Schmieding. Jan
Schmieding. Who else?
We just booked Lauren Waters.
Neil Ambrose Smith.
Yeah.
And I think we have about 3 or 4 in the can. Is that correct, Jesse? That's the producer, off camera.
Yes.
The man behind the curtain.
Yep.
So we have quite a few, but we're every other week now. We'll be going just probably monthly for the next 6 months, just so we have a good amount of in the can to provide to the listeners. And also with my schedule is all over the place.
You are one busy individual for sure.
Yeah, I try to keep somewhat busy.
Because this is not your only podcast either. You have another one.
Correct. I have Beyond the Design, which is part of my day job of what I do. For those that do not know or have not read my bio or follow me on social media, I'm a designer, and I launched a furniture collection 7 years ago. 7 years ago, unofficially, 5 years ago, officially, right in the midst of COVID, that is based on Native American art. I guess I could say I'm an artist, a creative, in essence.
Yes, you are.
I look at myself, self-reflects, like, am I an artist? But I guess if I design furniture and I'm an interior designer, there's some artistry to that. So, yeah, Amatoya means rainmaker in Cherokee, man that makes rain. He was a chief in the 1600s. Supposedly, I'm descended from him. And that is the Amatoya brand. So everything I design and create is from our culture, being a graphic icon, stories, the natural environment. I have a bench that I created called Inasi, which means buffalo in Cherokee. And if you look at the bench, there's some similarity to the form of being a buffalo. So that has been rolling along the past couple years, and finally we've gained momentum and notoriety. Another word that's
There
a
we go.
twister, and a lot of good response and a lot of interest. So I've signed 2 licensing agreements for this year.
Congratulations.
Um,
That's excellent.
yeah. So besides the base collection that I started with, I've expanded it to about 32 pieces now, being it case goods, and upholstery items and metal and case goods. For those don't know, it's side tables, coffee tables, anything made out of wood
Hmm.
is a case goods, and then upholstery is chairs, sofas, things like that. And I've actually incorporated a lighting line now, which will be launching this May at Hospitality Design in Las Vegas. And then that's a soft launch.
Okay.
And the big launch will be at BD&Y in New York and High Point in High Point, North Carolina, which is the furniture capital of the world. Those will both be in the fall, October and November. So the line is expanding.
Wow.
I had to design about 14 lighting pieces in a 30-day time period. So that's everything from ceiling fixtures to sconces to table lamps to floor lamps, a whole variety kind of encapsulated into the Amatoya brand. So we are expanding the Amatoya brand both to the residential end user as well as a hospitality sector.
Where can the listener find this, to see this work?
Well, if you go to amatoya.com, amatoya.com, you'll learn about the Amatoya brand, what the firm, the studio does. And if you sign up, you can get into our lookbook and see some of the pieces that are lined up for launching this year. And again, that's the start. I have other aspects of doing a textile wall covering, rug, flooring, bedding, and all sorts of different brand products as we continue this journey of my day job and the Amatoya brand. So kind of go back to the other podcast. I got sidetracked. Imagine that. Beyond the design, beyond the art is my right brain, and it's part of my DNA of who I culturally identify with as being a Native American. And the left side, I guess it could be called the left side or vice versa, is the day job and the design world. And so beyond the design focuses on the design community, everything from architects to landscape architects to manufacturers to other creatives that design and have furniture or textiles, interior designers, showroom representatives, everything in that design world, from A to B, and kind of the same format. Hearing their story firsthand, what drives them, what makes them be part of that very crazy world that changes on a dime, and hearing it firsthand. Because again, a lot of these creatives and a lot of these people, you read about them in publications and print magazines, but you don't really get to hear their voice, hear their story. It is on multiple podcast platforms as well as YouTube. So since it's a visual component, you get to see some of their installations and some of their items. I've had quite a few amazing individuals. I had Douglas Friedman, who is a photographer who does some amazing imagery of installations and other things in that sector. Funny man, character, but such a visionary, and how he photographs and captures a room or a piece of furniture. He actually did a commercial last year with Kohler and produced that commercial. It's very artistic.
Okay.
He lives part time in Texas, and they did it out in near Marfa, Texas, which is out in the middle of nowhere. And you just drive down this very desolate road, and you see this black toilet that has a self device that lifts up, and has a light. Very, very bougie, I guess you could say. But But, just Aaron with Relativity Textiles was on, an amazing individual who's become a friend and a mentor in a way. Um, uh, Christopher Kennedy and Martin Ballard, or
Mm.
Martin Lawrence Ballard, who did a huge amount of celebrity homes, Cher and RuPaul, and God, I'm trying to think who else he's done just about everyone. If those that listen to or watch Beverly Hills Housewives, he just was on their show
Hmm.
talking to Erica Jane and doing her home. So that's how that show came about. It's like, oh, sure, let's do another show. Why not?
It's fantastic. No, it really is. For us to for us to pursue the interests that really drive us, that get us up in the morning and keep us up late at night. It's really, really great that we follow these.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, I don't listen to my own podcast. I don't listen to podcasts at all. I get into rabbit holes looking at YouTube videos,
Mhm.
and doing this. I'm not a talker in my
Mm.
personal life.
Mhm.
I would tend to, I think, be a little introvert at times. So doing this is kind of put me out there to talk to people because I have to, or it becomes
Yeah.
a very quiet, dead show.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
and I'm on a few nonprofit boards. So being in those, I have to get out, and it's kind of helped me take the introvert. How would you say that? What would the I'm going to fumble that word as well. From being a somewhat reserved person into, because my day job, I have to talk to clients and
Mhm.
sing and dance and do a tap show and sell them on a design.
Mhm.
Same with the furniture. I have to tell people why I designed it and what it means to me and why it's so important. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're going to ask some questions or something.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm someone as well who just it's I'm a painfully shy person, and so it's
And we
when
put ourselves in this position.
let me do this. It makes no sense, but it has helped to be able to because I'm on a few boards as well, and Arts Midwest. I'm on a couple theater playhouse board. I'm on a theater playhouse board and another one, and to be able to speak in front of groups at ATOM. I've presented at ATOM a number of times now. Um, this experience has really given me the structure I need to be able to stand up and to start that engagement with people, and then also
Mhm.
to close off,
Mhm.
to cap those presentations as well.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I hear you on that. And it I enjoy what the funny thing is, I enjoy talking about the line.
Mhm,
If I'm at a market or somewhere where I have to talk about Amatoya
mhm,
and sell it and tap dance, it's an entity, even though it comes from me and it's part of my DNA, it's
mhm,
something else. I'm more than happy and I can just talk about it. I have someone that I work with, her name is Paula, who is kind of my loudspeaker and my promoter, so to speak. And she can just go on, and I'm there, and I tend to be a little bit more reserved. And she said, "Well, we need to hear from Cray," and I can go, I can edge it, but it's not about me, It's that differentiation of, even though it's part of where it comes from,
mhm.
and it is part of me because it's from my brain and everything else. But yeah, I set it apart.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I was in the military for a career actually, and at one point in my career, I had to be a presenter to the commander. We would give these daily update briefs, um, and so our commander was either a full bird colonel or a 1-star general, and I was I was still, compared to now, rather young when I started this, and I was a little nervous because the the colonel that I had was notoriously hard on his presenters,
Right.
and he was also my my battalion commander when I was in Iraq 10 years before that. And so I knew how he could be, and I was intimidated by him. And so when I was prepping to start doing these daily briefs to this commander, the officer that I had worked with at the time, who was a lovely human being, he saw I was getting nervous, and he said, "Okay," he's like, "Joe, Sergeant Williams," he said, "Think of it
Salute.
like," yeah, right. He's like, "Think of it like these presentations." He's like, "In college, you were in theater, right?" I was like, "Yes, I was in theater." He's like, "So this is a monologue. You're going to go out there as Sergeant Williams. You're not going out there as Joe Williams. You're Sergeant Williams. You're presenting this monologue, and then you're going to, what did you say? Then you're going to, what's that word? You're going to improv, because then the commander is going to start saying, throwing things at you, and Sergeant Williams is going to respond in kind, and so you're going to have this back and forth, and that put me at ease, and so I was able to do that, and I got pretty. Well, I was pretty good at being able to present to the commander after that.
If you say yourself, you're pretty good. Yeah.
I can say it now. I'm out, right? I'm out. So yeah, but that saved me, and so I've taken that same approach to the presentations that I give, and even this podcast, where I still get nervous before every single interview. Right before, even when you do the countdown, I get this angst, like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
I think part of it too is, and I don't identify with this individual in the least, but I don't want to have a Kanye moment, where I'm going to start talking, and then all the worst things start coming out. And I was like, what was I
make
thinking?
no sense.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So yeah, this, I mean, obviously this is this is you and this is me. But it's a way for us as introverts, I think true introverts, get through the presentations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then sleep for 4 hours afterwards.
Yeah. And again, like you, I get that being on stage moment. It's like, uh-oh, the camera, uh-oh. And then it just flows. And it's all, I think you have to, for us, or for me, I want to be very conscious of that, because I want to make the guest to feel at ease.
Yeah.
As much as possible. And if I feel or look or sound too tight, or regimented, I think they can have a tendency to shut down, and that's why I've always kind of related to them. It's very conversational. Yes, we have a list of questions. Yes, because it is about you. We want to make sure that we ask the right things, and that we have the bio and what you're doing, or the exhibit and your craft set up appropriately, that we can, engage and converse. So you're a pro at it, and I look to you, and I've enjoyed your podcasts, the ones I have listened to.
I understand.
Because you do make it very comfortable for the guest, and put them at ease. And I think even though you do have 5 questions, you make it seem seamless. So congrats on that, and congrats on your longevity and many more years and seasons to come.
Thank you. I think part of it, and you do the same thing, which I really enjoy, is I'm very present in the conversation. Even though I ask 5 questions, I have a card that sits there, and so it's my safety net. So I can keep. It's so funny, but it's all about being present with them as they're talking, and when they come up with something, or when they say something, and I want to follow that line of thinking. They may touch on something, but they're moving on. I want to be able to touch on the thing that they side mentioned, to really put them at ease, to let them know that I'm here with them. We're listening. This isn't a conveyor belt. And I've seen you do this as well during the interviews, and I find that that's a way to be able to sort of get the guest to really invest themselves in the conversation, and sort of that anxiety washes away. And that's where the magic is in these episodes. Yeah.
And funny enough, someone that I continue to watch a little bit is old Johnny Carson interviews.
Mm.
He was just natural, and he was able to extract stuff that probably the guest was not prepared to be asked or mentioned. Or you look at some of the old pros and their old talk shows. Some were very regimented, because it was formatted into a storyline. Like Phil Donahue or even Oprah and others. It was segmented into a story they were trying to relay to the audience or the show episode, where others that had multiple guests, in a panel discussion, like Johnny Carson and Joan Rivers, and really throwback is Mike Douglas. And for those that don't even know who he is, were just very natural. Or even Merv Griffin was another one. It was on the entertainment aspect, but still they were very natural, and they're able to converse with their guests, where it was a good time for everyone. I think it put a lot of people at ease.
Yeah. I have a funny story. We I don't believe she has been on yet. She's on this upcoming season for the podcast. Jennifer
Younger.
Younger. And so I don't know how much of the process I want to give away to the listener on how we do this. But I sat down with her, I think in December.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation. And as it starts, we're talking, we're going through, and again, I work on 2 podcasts. I interview a lot of people, and sometimes some people sort of fade in the background, and I'm not quite sure sometimes who I've talked to or who because I'm over. The other podcast is over 150 people at this point, and this one we're moving up pretty quickly. There's been a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to her. I'm like, oh wow, okay. I was like, well, she's got a very familiar story. I've heard someone else go through this experience too. And then she mentioned something else. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. This other person I talked to this summer had the same thing. And then she said the other thing, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what's going on? How is this so familiar? Like, I'm not tracking why I'm anticipating what she's saying, and she's coming up with it. I mean, I don't. And the great part is that this is all on camera, and so I'm sure the listener is going to listen to this episode and watch me in real time, because I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to sort out what's going on in my head. Then I realized that, oh wait, we interviewed her already before, and I hadn't tracked that this was a follow-up interview or a redo or something. And then I felt horrible because when we interviewed each other back in, I think, June or something like that, July, the summertime, I really enjoyed that interview, and I felt like there was a really good connection. We just it was just a great back and forth.
Right.
And then I felt horrible because she came back on. I assumed I hadn't talked to her yet. And so we just jumped into it. I was like, oh no, I must come off as the coldest, dismissive person. I was mortified. And so again, it was a wonderful, wonderful interview. It's going to be a great episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And G and I have we've been laughing about this since then. And so I hope I made up for it. And for Jennifer, I apologize profusely for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I saw her. Where did I see her? I saw her at Swaya in August. So we had already taped her, I think, probably in June or July. And we had some technical issues. So we had to redo.
Like an upload issue or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But again, another one of those guests where I can't believe we have that person. The things that she has done, the work that she creates is amazing.
Yeah, she's very, very talented. And she's multifaceted too. She does a multitude of different things. So much continued success for her. What else we got, Joe? I mean, we talked about who's coming up. I don't want to spill the beans of too many people, so people can keep on. Oh no! So we
can bleep it. That'd be great.
So they keep listening and tuning in. But tune into Joe's show, 5 Planes Questions, as going into 6th season? Almost 6th
Season
season?
6,
Yeah.
yes. Season 6. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I try to keep everything kind of close to me when before the season goes out. So I'm really excited about what's coming up. But yeah, this one I always try to start that season with a strong female guest. I feel like it's really important that women lead the way
Mhm.
in a lot of what we do. So um, after we're done here, I'm jumping off onto another interview with her, Suzanne Schoenharjo. She's going to be
Oh,
the leader
wow.
for the season. So
Fantastic.
yeah, she's been wonderful in our communications together, and she knew my dad before, and so it's great to be able to connect with her again. So yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
And she's here in Tulsa, isn't she?
DC,
Oh, is she in
DC.
DC? Oh,
Yep,
okay.
yep. But I think she's back and forth though. She's from the area. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're going to talk about her advocacy and her big push. Her big push about ousting the Washington logo, NFL logo. So
Oh, really?
yeah, she led that fight.
Huh.
So, which she was featured in a film that came out this last year. Looking back on 2024, there was a lot of great films that came out,
Oh, yeah.
and so she was featured in one. I don't want to mess this up, and my friend Ben, who if he listens to it, he's going to be upset because he's the director. I don't want to get it wrong though. So, Imagining the Indian. It's been out. I think it premiered in 2023, but they've been making the rounds in 2024 to promote this film. And it's just about the work that that Native and Indigenous people are doing to push back against those harmful, stereotypical logos that are out there. And so it's a great film. It's sort of a who's who in the Native world who's been really advocating for this. Really well done, beautiful film to watch. And so that's one I would recommend for the listener to check out when they can. I think it's on Amazon, and it was on Apple, but I think it's on Amazon now streaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think she's probably the second guest, Julie O'Keefe. Yeah. She's probably number 2 or number 3 on the show. She did all the, what was her title? Historical accuracy of all the costumes for Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay.
And she did the same for a new show that has just come out, American Primeval. I believe it's on Netflix or Hulu.
Okay.
One of them.
Okay.
But I want to get her back on the show. She's relocated to New Mexico.
Okay.
Wonderful person, great friend, a great creative in many, many ways. But yeah, I just wanted to give her a plug that her new show's out for people to check it out. But she's the one that actually did or worked with the costume team of Killer of the Flower Moons and the accuracy and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, for those that don't know who I'm talking to my stage left is Jesse, who is a show producer.
Jesse.
And he has been great in getting this all together because I did come to him off the cuff once because we're both board members of the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum, which is now changing its name to Museum of Tulsa History. I'm like, oh, you produce podcasts, don't you? So now he has his production company, Pod for Good. Again, the man behind the curtain. So anyone that wants to check out the other shows that he has on his network, is that correct? It's called Pod for Good. Okay. Podforgood.com. Podforgoodmedia.com. Check it out. He does quite a few shows here locally. So if you are a podcast listener of a multitude of different formats and shows, do check it out because I need to thank him for keeping me on time and on point and wrapping this all together and putting the show both on multiple podcast platforms, but also on YouTube. I think that's something that has helped kind of differentiate us, because we are about the artistry in both shows, that there's a visual component as well, which I think is unique from what I gather of the amount of listeners we have. Or social media followers as well.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the promos that they put together for your show on social media are outstanding. So, yeah, kudos to Jesse and his team and all that they do for this podcast.
Well, Joe, I don't know. What else can we talk about? Let's get that children's book together.
Yes. That'll be that's what we're going to work on. That's going to be next.
All right.
But yeah, it's, I think, creatively across the nation, natives have done amazingly well this last few years, right? Both in film, in different exhibitions across the country, internationally. The books that have been coming out, fantastic. It's been exciting, and I have all the faith that 2025 is going to be an amazing year as well. I'm just really looking forward to what's coming.
So any listeners that are an artist or creative in any form or medium, if you're interested in being on this show or maybe Joe's show, you can reach out to us at contact@beyondtheart.net. And if you're interested in Joe's show,
go to 11warriorarts.com and message me there.
Yeah.
So love to hear from you.
Yeah. Love to hear from anyone, that would like to be on, because I think it's important that we hear your voice.
Absolutely.
And we want to give a special shout out to our listeners. You're the heart of the show. You support keeps us inspired to continue sharing these stories and conversation and getting guests on the show. And, it's all about giving them the platform.
It's wonderful.
I think this is different for both of us. Like, this is a very conversational, off the cuff, and talking about ourselves. But the shows, I think, is easier for us to talk about.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's been great. This last year has been wonderful. Being able to expand. The other podcast that I do, it's very structured, right? It's
right.
We got the set there. This is expansive, and I really enjoy these deep conversations that I've had this year, the guests.
Well, I have to thank you for saying yes to my invite to be the co-host, because it's helped me. I think it's helped bring another element to the show, another voice that I think can help extract a story from an artist or creative. And it's nice to banter back and forth. It's not about me. It's about those that we have on, and I thank you for saying yes and filling in and being the sole host at times. And thank you very much.
Oh, it was an enthusiastic yes. I was honored and excited when you asked me. I was like, "Really, me? What? Am I the fourth person that he asked? What's going on here?"
You were the one and only, my friend.
Oh, that's great to hear. But yeah, no. I've been following your podcast since America.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so it's been a delight to listen to. It's great to hear a different take on the interview approach, and I've really valued this podcast. And then to be asked to be on was an honor. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you for including me.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, Joe.
Yeah.
I would say in the seat beside me, but virtually on the seat beside me. Well, I think I'll wrap it up for now. So until next time, keep celebrating the beauty of all culture and storytelling. Take care, and we'll see you next on the episodes coming forth on Beyond the Art.
We'll see you all then. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Indigenous art and creativity. Stay inspired and keep exploring with us on Beyond the Art.
Remember to subscribe and follow us for more exclusive interviews, insightful discussions, and stories that ignite your artistic imagination.
Until next time, continue to unlock your limitless potential with Beyond the Art. Thank you for listening.